Hey, ladies. So I'm not going to be on here super long tonight. I really felt compelled to come and talk about the situation. There was a young Black woman student at Winston-Salem State University, I think is what it's called. And she was arrested, unfortunately, for not apologizing. And oh boy, I listened to first person I heard talk about it was Roland Martin, and I saw it in other places as well, but I didn't realize how big of a story it was until I saw it on some of the mainstream channels. And then I listened to what happened on Roland Martin. I listened to some commentary. I saw some TikTok stitches of this. And first thing I'm going to say is the teacher did not handle this well. So I by no means think that the young lady, the young student, should have gotten arrested. I do think that she did not handle this well. And I do think that we, as professional Black women, we, as young women on college campuses, as we are dealing with teachers of any ethnicity, but specifically white teachers, and I'm going to call her Karen for this purpose, we need to know how to handle Karens. We need to know how to handle them in the professional workplace. And professional starts with college and works its way up. One of the major concerns I have with this story, and I'm going to, everybody give a thumbs up as you are coming in. One of the problems I have with this story is that people are not thinking about this young lady long term. So many of you may be familiar with the story. If you are familiar with the story, one one of the issues that I have with it is long term, when this young lady is looking for a job and someone Googles her name, they're going to find this story. And my concern for her is that she took something that was avoidable. And I think that there may be repercussions 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future for her that she's not even accounting for. Even if the charges are misdemeanor charges, even if those charges are dropped. So we have to learn how to handle Karens in a professional environment, play chess, not checkers with these individuals in such a way where we look like people should say, you know what, it's a no brainer for us with this situation. And again, I do think that the professor was wrong in some of the things that she did, but I also think that the young lady was wrong as well in how she handled it. And there are protocols that she could have done, and there are things that we should be able to do within the professional work environment when we have situations like this. And in the future, this young lady may be denied for a job and never told why, and it could be because of this issue. When someone researches her name and they see this and they see how this she handled this, and they think, well, we don't want to get caught up in a racism thing, so therefore we're not going to bring her on, we're not going to employ her, we're not going to give her this opportunity. Again, I think that there could be long-term implications. I know that this is not a popular opinion, but I want to play for you. If you have not seen what's happening, I want to play for you what actually happened here. So let me get to my thing here and make sure that my volume is up. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is again Winston-Salem State University. This is an HBCU, and this young lady is getting arrested in class. So let's hear what happened.
Is she still standing there letting this happen? Like, exactly. I hate you. It already, I hate you. I swear to God, I hate you. swear to God, I hate you. I swear to God, I hate you, bro. You're the worst teacher ever. You get me taken out of handcuffs because I want to apologize. Because I want to apologize. You started yelling at me. You trying to embarrass me about my paper. You're a terrible teacher.
Is somebody recording this? So everybody is. You're recording everybody because that's ridiculous. Yes, that really is. She sit here and say she loves black people and stuff, but you know this happened to her. Come on now. No, you yelled at her first. You yelled at her first, but you don't heard her apologize. It doesn't make any sense.
You hear it? Look at my grades, my GPA. I graduated by 8 I'm not stupid, Dr. D.
Winston-Salem State University has some explaining to do.
I'm so bad.
I am valedictorian.
Yeah, you were yelling at her. You were yelling at her. That's ridiculous.
That's BS.
I'm saying, I'm like,
The student who was arrested then went live on the gram and stated the following.
We had a group final, we had to write a paper, and we had to also make up a skit for our group to present. It was 7 of us. I did most of writing the skit just because I wanted to. It was easy and it was fun for me. Well, I thought it was easy. I did the essay as well. She got back to me late, 6 hours before we had to present, actually, saying that my essay was completely wrong and I should revise it. All this. I'm just like, I'm not going back and redoing this essay. That took me 2 weeks, and you told me 6 hours before. I'm not redoing it. So I come into class and didn't say anything to her. She's talking.
So I agree with her there. I agree with the fact that 6 hours beforehand, the professor comes to her and says, you know, hey, you need to rewrite your paper. And she's like, I don't have the time to do it. She's actually correct. The student is actually correct. Let's continue listening to what happened from her point of view.
Signed us to our groups, and we're going to talk about what we're doing for the project before we actually have to do it. We talked about that, and she was like, well, it is wrong and you should redo it because it's going to greatly impact your grade. Once again, said I did not care about that because I'm only here to present with my group so that my group does not get a 0 on this. So boom, she starts getting loud. She starts yelling at me, telling me this is her class, so it doesn't matter what I think. I'm getting loud back. I'm not going to.
Okay, she's saying that the teacher started getting loud with her. The teacher ultimately asked her to leave. I don't know when the teacher asked her to leave. If the teacher asked her to leave before they started getting loud and yelling at each other, and yes, everyone in the situation admits that the teacher started yelling at her first, but there's still a way to handle a situation like this. So let's keep listening.
Sit here and lie to you guys. I got loud back. I was raising my voice too. I'm like, Dr. D, like, you're yelling at me. I'm not going to redo it. I'm here to present with my group. Like, I'm here to get this done and get out. And she's like, you need to get out. Like, I want you to leave.
At this point, this young lady should have left the class and should have actually gone through protocol to the dean of her school, if it's the business school or whatever, the academic dean, worked her way up the food chain to the president of the university with regards to this, but she decided to stay in the class. Let's continue listening to what happened.
I'm like, leave? No, like, I'm here for my group project. She's upset at this point. She leaves and she's talking to another teacher in the hallway. At that point, I guess is when they decided to call the police, campus police. Like they said, it is important because the black officer, he's a very well-known officer on our campus. He's never given anybody any problems. He's actually pretty cool. And he was doing his best to not arrest me. He was trying to have a conversation, and the white officer came in and was like, yeah, you're either going to get out or I'm going to have to get you out. And I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm like.
Again, she was given another opportunity to leave, and she didn't. She decided to stay. She decided to stay instead of figuring out another way of handling this situation. So, and this is an important lesson for Black women with regards to professional environments and how we handle these things in professional environments. Let's keep listening.
Like, Dr. V, you're going to let them arrest me? And she's like, yes, Dr. V, Dr. Villagomez, Cynthia Villagomez. The black officer comes in. He asks me what's going on. I tell him everything. The class is telling him everything. As I'm telling my story, my professor comes back in. Yes, officer, I want her taken out. I'm like, whoa. He's like, whoa, I'm talking to her. I'm listening to her. So wait, we're talking. Another officer comes in, and he is a white officer. He comes in and he's like, okay, so your options are you're going to get out of the class. I'm going to have to take you out. And she's like, wait, hold on. She's trying to, like, fix herself. She's like, okay, either apologize or you need to leave. I said, apologize. Now, the old me, I'm sure I would have apologized, but at that moment, I knew that I was not the one in the wrong. I didn't start the situation. I didn't escalate the situation. I knew I was not wrong. So I'm just like, okay, apologize for what? Apologize because you yelled at me and you dropped the F-bomb? Yes, I did drop the F-bomb and told you I'm not stupid. That's what I told you. So I'm sorry. The F-bomb hurt your feelings. So sorry, baby. We're grown. If that was worth an arrest, let me know. Let me know. According to my mom, it wasn't. But continuing, I said, Dr. B, are you going to apologize to me? I came in, I sat with my group. I didn't say anything to you. You decided to start yelling at me as soon as the fire alarm went off about my essay. So She was like, no, I'm not going to apologize. I'm like, what? So then I'm like, wait, well, tell me what I'm apologizing for. Tell me what I'm apologizing for. At that moment, I'm talking to the black officer. I'm talking to my professor. The white officer is like, yeah, go ahead and take her. You have to go get her. To the black officer. So the black officer is like.
So again, I wonder how long all of this happened before they started putting the handcuffs on her. There are ways to handle a Karen. I don't know about you. I've had the boss from hell. A lot of us have had the boss from hell. If you haven't had the boss from hell, keep living. There are ways to handle these things so that we can come out on the other side of it better off than this. I know this is an unpopular opinion. Y'all are mighty quiet in the chat tonight, but that's okay. It's important. I was thinking about this for the past few hours. I said, you know what? I don't hear a lot of us speaking like this in such a way to say, no, the way to handle something like this, if you are a student, is for you to document everything, and work it up the chain of command. It's not to stay in. If after someone asks you to leave multiple times, the authorities come. Campus police doesn't get there in 2 seconds. Campus police takes its time getting there, and you're still there. The police ask you to leave, and you're still there. Sometimes it's not worth it. My concern for this young lady, again, is that 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 8 years from now, 10 years from now, someone is going to consider hiring her. They're going to Google her name. They're going to look her up on social media. They're going to see this story, and they're going to say, no, we don't want the liability. We don't want to be called racist. We don't want to have issues. A lot of us are doing short-term thinking. We're playing chess, not checkers. We're playing checkers, not chess when it comes to this. I hope, and I do believe that the charges will be dropped, misdemeanor charges. But this stuff like this can really hurt your long-term prospects. Let's continue listening what she's saying.
Like, okay, turn around, I'm about to put these handcuffs on you.
Local media has now picked up on the story. The TikTok user.
Okay, so I wanted to share that with you because these things happen again in professional environments. There's a lot of stories out right now about, and it have been for centuries, about microaggressions. We've all had to deal with the boss from hell. It is important for us to figure out how we are able to get the outcomes that we're looking for while also not alienating people, while also not alienating allies. And I'm not saying that it's right for anybody to mistreat you. I'm saying think not only about today and confronting a person today like this young lady did. Think about 5, 10 years from now, because the internet is forever. Years ago, when I was in college, over 20 years ago now, I had an issue with, it wasn't an issue, it was a discussion with a fellow white student. She and I and a few other people were in a group assignment together, and she said that I was too abrasive. This is pre-social media, so it's not like I could get on TikTok and talk or anything like that. But we have to know how to handle those situations. I watched a few videos. Like I said, I watched Claudia Jordan, and she talked about the fact, Claudia Jordan said, well, we shouldn't have white people teaching at HBCUs. Well, we have white people in corporate. Should an HBCU be a safe space? I don't think that creating a safe space with no white teachers at an HBCU truly prepares our students for the real world. I don't think that's a good idea either. And I found that I think Claudia Jordan was speaking from a lot of emotion. I heard a lot of people speaking from a lot of emotion with regards to this. I don't think that this young lady's mother counseled her correctly with regards to this. Hey, Computer and Coin saying corporate can be triggering sometimes, very triggering sometimes. This is where emotional intelligence skills could be helpful. I do understand why the student was upset. I get why she was upset too. I do think though that so like I said, I'm in my mid 40s. My mother though gave me the tools and the skills to be able to navigate those things. Just like you tell your sons what to do when the police stop them, you got to tell your daughters how to navigate the system in such a way that it does not affect her prospects in the future. Hey, Dark and Lovely, this is an excellent point. Didn't consider the residual effects from this moment for the student. You're right, it may be very unfortunate. Look for a professional career. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the first things that I thought when I saw this story. I'm like, oh, that wasn't a good move. Because if the white teacher had started yelling at her and she left, at that point, she documented everything, she ran it up the chain of command, she would have had a better chance of getting the outcome that she was looking for without having this arrest all over social media. And this is a national news story. It's all over. And she's not a Kardashian. She's not going to be able to scrub it off the internet like the Kardashians do. So, yeah. Again, I'm not going to be here long. I just really, from a professional point of view, we need to learn how to deal with these things. I do want to show you one more thing, though. Actually, there was an article that came out in Business Insider, and I'm going to just share it with you really quickly. This came out, I think, came out today. Black women are worn out from discrimination in corporate America. They're leaving to launch their own businesses, creating a hole for talent across industries. So let's read what this article is saying here. Black women are being pushed out of corporate America by microaggressions, belittling, and burnout. Some are starting businesses and building teams of their own. Their departures are likely to hurt innovation and profits in corporate America. Again, this is Business Insider. This is not a Black publication. This is like major prime time here. There's this woman named Sybil Stewart. I'm just going to read the highlighted parts here. Stewart, who's Black, said other leaders at the firm would reprimand her for missing meetings she was never invited to attend. She said these indirect or subtle acts of discrimination, often called microaggressions, weren't new, but they piled up after she spoke out against what she saw as racist behavior at the company. She dreaded going into the office. Stewart said she became agoraphobic, experienced insomnia and anxiety, and reached a breaking point. In September, after 15 months at the company, she quit so she could be her own boss. This is her here saying it's euphoric. I left and I'm never going back. She is 39 years old. She started a coaching and entrepreneurship company called Sage Stewart Life Coach Group. Her goal is to help others break out on their own. Stewart is one of an untold number of Black women professionals in the U.S. who signed off from corporate jobs in recent years because they face obstacles that their white colleagues often don't see. Black women have other reasons for giving up their day jobs, of course, having a great business idea, dealing with health concerns, needing to care for family. Notably, pandemic-related job losses affected Black women more than other groups. I just have a couple more things to read here for you. The decisions of executives like Stewart to jump off the corporate ladder because of their workplace experiences is a blinking red light for America's companies. I want you to pay attention to this because you were able to handle a Karen if you go up the corporate ladder enough with them understanding that a mass exodus of Black women departing these businesses is ultimately going to affect their bottom line. There's actually research with regards to more diverse businesses, including Black women, bring greater profits to a company. There's research on this. So the article is saying here, losing Black women is especially worrisome for businesses because companies with greater racial diversity are generally more innovative, more profitable, and more likely to outperform than less diverse ones. Additionally, research suggests companies with more women in leadership are more open to change and more likely to invest in research and development than in mergers and acquisitions. The consequences of these departures go beyond the bottom line. So Stuart is saying here, I was a top performer at every company I worked for, but I never found a sponsor. I never found the advocate in the room. For Black women iced out of corporate America, launching their own companies is about empowerment. So, Dark and Lovely here is saying we must also remember that most HBCU students are lower income and first generation college students. Very true. Let's be honest, her mom may not be equipped to teach her how to navigate situations like this. You are definitely correct about that, Dark and Lovely. Definitely correct. I'm going to read a little bit more of this here. McIntosh, who is 35, this is another woman in the article here, said that when she told her boss she had more responsibilities and was held to higher standards than a white female counterpart, her boss told her that she should focus on being a quote unquote better culture fit and that she should, quote, humble herself. The term culture fit, that's what they use to justify the biases and discrimination and prejudice. McIntosh felt iced out of her role. So on Valentine's Day 2020, in what she called an act of self-love, she left to focus on her beauty and wellness brand, Yato. So I happen to know a woman who is a Black woman. She is a lawyer and she works with companies that are doing government contracts. She works for some pretty big companies as well. If she had, as she's walking out of the door, if she had burned the corporate bridges, she would never be able to do the work that she's doing. So one of the things that, again, it's important for us to really figure out and navigate is how to actually get change or how to start our own businesses so that we are able to navigate life the way that we want to and need to. Just a couple more things here. In an online survey conducted this year by McKinsey and the nonprofit Lean In, involving 40,000 employees from 333 organizations, 55% of Black women leaders said their judgment had been questioned in the past year, and 38% said they had been mistaken for someone in a more junior role. Businesses are losing valuable talent and facing consequences. Ojea, this is another woman here, said Black women like her are ready for the challenges of entrepreneurship she's talking about. She added that overcoming barriers in the workforce has allowed them to build the stamina needed to succeed on their own. Stewart, the original woman, said, I wasn't going to let my career plateau. I know many Black women in similar situations. If they're not starting businesses and leaving corporate, they're leaving employers that aren't serving them well and finding ones that are. So why would I mention this with regards to the HBCU student? Again, it's about navigating the system. Again, I'm not saying that the professor was right. I think the professor was, I do believe all the students said this. I do believe that the professor was wrong. I do believe that the professor yelled at the Black woman student first. Yes, absolutely. Professor was wrong. I do believe before the professor yelled at the student that she probably asked her to leave before it got heated. I haven't heard all of the stories from all of the students, but she probably was asked to leave beforehand. She didn't leave. Then, they started fighting verbally with each other. The teacher asked her to leave again, and she refused to leave. Then the Black cop came in and she's talking with the black cop, and then the white cop comes in and says, you need to leave, and she still doesn't leave. And all I see here is a young lady whose future employment prospects may be hindered because of this national story. And it's sad. It's sad what we as Black women have to deal with. But there are ways for us to handle these situations in a way that people are able to say, you know what? We don't have a justification for not giving, XYZ person an opportunity. And I think that in this situation, people are going to have a justification for not giving Layla Hamoud, that's her name, not giving Layla an opportunity. So that is it. I wasn't going to be on here long. I just wanted to have this conversation about how to handle a Karen, and I don't have all the answers. I'm hoping that more of you will have conversations about this and think about what I've talked about as well. So that is it for me. I will see you in the next video.